Central Bank of Nigeria has revealed that 95.66% of bank debtors borrowed from microfinance banks as of September 2024. Now, this highlights the role of microfinance banks in the country's lending system. Was it Friday? We're talking about the number of businesses in the informal sector in Lagos. So Lagos alone has millions of businesses in the informal sector. If we take that around the country, we'll find that there are a number of businesses in the informal sector. For small, medium enterprises and even the nano businesses, the first go-to for them when they need funds is the microfinance banks. And so a lot of them go to microfinance banks. We understand that the commercial banks are there too, but it seems like the chances of ever securing loans from the commercial bank are slimmer than the microfinance bank. But there's another part of that report which I want us to look at too, is that on a month-to-month basis, that figure also dropped. It was less in September than it was in August. But if you look at the year-on-year comparison, there was about a 24% decline. So in 2023, as of 2023 September, the number of persons or businesses that got loans from the microfinance bank were about 8,000. Now, in 2024, that had dropped to 6,500 and I think 23,000 persons who took loans from the bank. And this was attributed to the hike in interest rate. But recall that in the course of the year 2024, there were about 6 consecutive MPC meeting, Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the central bank. And on each of those meetings, interest rate was hiked. So it rose from about 18.75% in February to 27.25% in November 2024. This is critical. If more persons get loans from the microfinance bank, and we've seen that in a year period, the number of persons who are able to access loans or who seek loans have declined because of the cost of borrowing. I think it's time we begin to look at dropping the interest rate. The reason the central bank was increasing rate was to reduce inflation, but so far we've seen that has really not worked. If you ask me, that has even increased inflation more, because when businesses get funds at a higher cost, it then means that whatever business and services that they do, they push that cost to the consumer.
Yeah, but your narration seems beautiful. There are several issues that we will talk about in terms of the operations and the models of the microfinance bank in Nigeria. Number one, the figure is just real because, number one, they are closer to the people. The model is also different from the model of the commercial banks that we are housing depositors' money. If you look at the models that most microfinance use and operate in this environment, is they actually going to these micro or informal businesses to ask them to come take loan. But only set a precondition that's okay, you have to run your account for like consecutively for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, as the case may be, and then we're going to advance you loan. And most of the time, the loan is not actually annuated, it is monthly. And say if you take it, interests are calculated month-to-month basis, not actually on annual basis. And that really works a lot for small businesses. Take, for example, you want to finance your LPO. It is easier for you to actually quickly get to the microfinance if you have the terms of your LPO that, okay, the person you're supplying can return the money maybe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the contract that you are into. It's easier to get to the microfinance. Don't also forget that most of the commercial bank, the terms and conditions for loans are also very, very stringent. And this is what a lot of people don't want to get into or go through. So to that extent, the numbers will always be in favor of the microfinance. But we also see that if we also look at it very hugely, the level of collapse of microfinance bank is also very worrisome. And the only thing that we be accounting for that level of liquidation can only be the fact that we're also dealing in an environment where trust is also very lacking. And then people take loan and they are not willing to service the loan. You can take from this bank today and change your particulars, change to another bank tomorrow, and all those things.
But there is the BVN that works across board. Why are they not able to use that to track?
Yeah, I think the BVN is just feeling that space right now. And there are a lot of, some of all these non-regularized operations, because the marketers of the microfinance bank are also desperate. Even when you don't have BVN, those things they can cover for you so that you can get access. All that they want is that they get the deposit inflow coming into you, and then they are able to also send those money to other people who need it immediately. And I think that's where, for example, a lot of things have to be done on our national identification project, where people can be totally and comprehensively identified, that you cannot verify, for example, opening of an account until you verify your house address. And I think a lot of fintech companies does that now, that if you are signing onto their platform, you have to be in your house address for like consistently for a period of time for you to be able to validate your address. And then in that case, the banks are able to know where you actually live and where you do business. Because this is a problem in the environment. People just move places and then the loan move with them and you cannot recover them. And the medium of doing that is really very difficult, especially with a population that is large. So I feel that there's a whole lot of reorientation in the environment that business people should also understand that if they are defaulting, paying back loans that are meant for these microfinance banks, then it's actually somebody else's money and not the bank's money. Because that also be accounting for the reduction in terms of the volume that is being done. Because, like they said, since hunters have started to shoot without missing, birds are now flying and they are not perching. Yeah.
Jack has dropped a lot of bullet points there. There was one funny one he said when he was talking about people moving and the loans moving with them. Yes, that is very true. Even with the loan apps, which sometimes are referred to as loan sharks, we see that people don't even move. They are still what they are, but recovering the loans are a problem. And so sometimes they result to blackmailing, they result to different things, contacting those on your contact list to appeal to you to return the loan. The level of loan default is very, very high in the country. The microfinance bank are playing a very good role and is good for the MSMEs. We need to keep them. I would have thought that, yes, for every loan, there should be some form of insurance on that loan, as much as other due diligence to ensure the recovery of that loan.
Yes, I think some of the microfinance bank, it should be part of the regulatory terms for establishing a microfinance bank, just the way the commercial banks, deposit a certain quota of money with the Central Bank of Nigeria for regulatory purposes, so that the customer's money doesn't disappear. For microfinance bank, they have their own structure as well. Like you rightly said, they are tailored towards catering to the loan needs of SMEs. However, Doctor pointed it out. There was a case where somebody was able to secure, this is not even a loan, it was a grant given by state government, and for business purposes, because before that grant was given, they've seen your document, the name of your organization that you want to run for a while, and they've seen that, oh, this is good business, and they are trying to give out grants of which you are not going to pay back. They gave to some businessmen, and some of them went out to marry new wives. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they went to the village to marry new wives. Now, for microfinance bank, they are dealing with bad loans. You could see very, very few of them still in existence. And those ones that are still in existence is because they've chosen to take the bull by the horn. I have a friend who works for microfinance bank, and he's a loan collector. He recovers loans. He told me stories unheard of. He will go to people's houses to look for them. He has called them several times. He will tell them, they've traveled, and he goes to their house, and some people will crouch into that bag you call Ghana Must Go. They will be hiding inside. It's that bad. He will fish them out, and some of the cases will result to police case, and some you will not be able to get back those loans at all, even if you put the man in police net.
I think it's time the banks begin to think about collateral too.
One thing I want to say.
They may begin to consider that, because if they continue this way, chances that a lot of them will begin to fold up.
Yeah, but
they are
already folding up.
And so we need them.
Most of them.
You know that people will not do what you expect them to do. They will do what you inspect. And there are certain measures that need to be in place.
But even in terms of inspection, it's even difficult. A guy called me 2 days ago and said, this scab has run away with money. He has even placed an order on the estate gate that this person, they should never allow him to enter. He said his telephone is all switched off. The only time you can get access to this person on the telephone is around 12 a.m. So you find that people are deliberate. People change numbers at will.
That is why we need collateral.
So what it is that the real reason why these guys are not going to this commercial bank is because you need a collateral to go there.
So the microfinance bank should employ that.
See, these guys, take for example, I once started a business and I was looking for some facility to run this business. We have bought the machines and we have installed. So I was looking for like an overhead to start operations so that we can stabilize and then be able to pay. So I was looking at like 12 million at that time. And what do I need to do? I wanted to take a C of O. So I went to the government to say, okay, I needed a C of O for the facility so that I can use it to collateralize the loan. And of course, the money they were asking for me to get a C of O at that year, 2013 or 2009, was about 30 million.
And you needed 12 million.
I needed 12 million. So if you
had 12 million, why bother yourself?
I won't go to the bank. So this is the situation where a lot of these micro businesses find themselves. They cannot they don't have definite collateral, and they are just supposed to actually be, what I think BOI did at a certain point was to see how to even put them into cooperative societies and use the cooperative society model the way it was used in Bangladesh to dispense some of these facilities so that the member of the cooperative society could monitor the movement of the loan, that this loan moved from me is getting into Blessing's hand, and Blessing is ensuring that I'm doing what I should do so that she will not miss a turn. And then, of course, it's going to Krumale's hand, and Krumale is monitoring to show that this thing, and then, of course, it go around in the society. But what do you find? Nigerians are very smart people. So people form their families into cooperative. You understand this? So these are the ingenious ways that you see people find themselves, and cronies and friends who they know that are not into business, and they form themselves into cooperatives. There's only one person who's actually seeking the loan. That's why I'm saying that the only way out of our problem is when people are fully identified, that we know that this person is doing this kind of business and this is what he does for a living, and therefore is absolutely captured, so that when he is going to ask for a loan, at the key in of that national ID number, every detail about you is seen. So the kind of transaction you have done before will be able, at least to that extent, we will be able to actually monitor what is happening, because collateral, the road of collateral is difficult, which means if you are going to take a loan of 45,000, for example, to do a small business,
then bring the collateral of 70,000 naira.
The collateral principle says that you must have up to like 80 to 100,000 naira. So if you have 110,000 naira, why would you be looking for a loan of 45,000?
Please bring collateral, because it has become necessary for the sake of the continued existence of the banks. I don't think it's difficult, because even for some people who are into loaning of money, those who are money lenders, not even in the bank system, there are persons who are money lenders. If you go to them to say you need XY amount of money, some of them do ask for collateral because not all of them have the muscle to fight. Not all of them have the time. It will take them using the police and using other means to ensure they recover that loan. If a person brings the collateral for that amount of money, I don't think you would need to start chasing the person because they know the worth of that collateral. So if you're looking for a 50,000 naira loan, bring a collateral of 100,000 naira. Let's have that.
So
I think they need, if the policy that governs the operations of the microfinance bank doesn't cover that, they should begin to look at that. Because we may just have a system where, or have a situation where many of them fade out of the system, and then the role for which they are set up is defeated. So if we want that to continue, since the people have become tough, you also made a parable of if the hunter has learned to shoot without missing, then the bird has also learned to fly without perching. So if they have learned not to return money that they loan, then those who are lending should also ensure that they have something from the borrowers that ensure that they must pay back that money for continuation.
I think by way of policy, this thing is quite simple. You go to the big banks. They have systems in place whereby if you have borrowed money from this bank as someone, which if you go to another bank and want to go and borrow, the system will identify.
It flags you.
So some of these big banks should take in some of these microfinance banks.
If you are not in the cut group of the big bankers.
No. Even no matter the level you belong to.
What he's saying is that some of those things can be waived.
Krumale, look at it. Whether you like it or not, go and check it out and see the loan histories in our bank. You will find that banks cooperate with some of even the loan big defaulters. That's why you see that it's only about 2% of the people, 2% of the population that actually gets loans from the big banks or the commercial banks. But I think what is missing in our environment, which is one of the things that we will really need to think about, is the fact that many people in Nigeria like to do business, but financial literacy is missing. That people hardly can differentiate between their capital and their
private
profits. Money. So what it means is that once money enters into your account, you start spending everything. And then, of course, we are hoping that another one will come tomorrow. And I think people need to be financially literate. And I think one of service that this microfinance bank should be able to give to some of these people is what I may call an education of a sort for this sector, the informal sector, to tell them how to keep their books, how to differentiate profit from capital, and what expenditure to make. But I think some microfinance banks also are smart enough these days to actually be doing daily collections in the market. So what happened is that every day they come to your shop, if they are within your vicinity, and say, what have you sold today? This is your refund for today. And I think that's also quite instructive. But what you also see is that by the time they take out what the banks owe, they have nothing to go back to the bank, to the market tomorrow to restock. And this becomes a real hydra-headed challenge facing the informal sector. Financial education, financial literacy is critical in really transforming that sector so that they understand how to spend. You can imagine somebody just make a profit or sell something and is not thinking about reinvesting the money into the business, but is thinking of getting some big things. A friend of mine was telling me something that happened, and I think it was in Maiduguri, and he said, these guys, they were making so much money farming beans. But what did you see? Once the season is ended, all the money they have made, they use it to go and buy a sport vehicle. And
now you have touched on the issue. It is not really about financial literacy.
Yeah, but that is financial literacy.
Because some of those people that default on loans from microfinance banks, if they had secured that loan through a money lender who will beat them up very well and still collect the money, they would understand how to save. Even
the money lenders are passing through recovering loans.
Yes, that's why they have deployed unorthodox means of collecting back their money.
See, they have unorthodox means. Even the people who are taking the loan are even using orthodox means for the money lender. So there's a whole lot of crisis within the system. But what I'm talking about financial education is the fact that people must understand that I have made some profit and I'm not entitled to eat up all the seed. that what I'm supposed to eat is the fruit, because there's another planting season. So if I eat up all the seed, now come again looking for seed to plant during the seed, it means that I'm not intelligent. And I think that's what I'm talking about, that once people become financially intelligent, to understand that before I will have to buy a car, I don't need to sell everything that I've made for that year. I also must make plan that I have to reinvest some. And if that is not enough, then we can work out an arrangement. But that's what you see. Just like Krumale said, some people get a loan, and what do? They
marry
or
your
even
wife.
grants, and they go to marry a new wife or add to the harems of girlfriend. Because these guys are just looking at it and look, this money has come, anyway, we must spend it. But if they are financially literate, they'll be thinking about how to build up capital base so that they can become bigger companies in the near future.
Doc, you do know that there's selective intelligence. Some persons choose where to be intelligent as long as it is convenient with them. Okay.